we go to these webinars, these seminars, these things about talking with people, and there's always oh, develop your structural program and then be sure that blah, blah, blah has, and you're like, those are great ideas. Mm-hmm. Those are fabulous ideas. Wonderful. I'm an HR of one. I'm a smaller organization. I don't have this huge budget. I'm a nonprofit. So, and so again, this book, your book, allows it to be some very good construction as to what you can do to help those organizations guide step by step in that, in the handholding process, along with sharing your experience, your whole personal experience with it.
Mm-hmm. I think, it's really three components. I think, when I talk about this whole moving from policy to practice thing, I mean, it's really, there's the cultural component. Mm-hmm. And again, it's about being aware. And about understanding how this work kind of fits into the larger culture, because a lot of the companies that I work with, even the smaller ones, the newer ones, they all have these, operating principles. They always have these guiding principles, and that's good. You need to have that as an organization, I think. I mean, at New York Life, we had 3 guiding principles. It was integrity, humanity, integrity, and financial strength. Obviously life insurance company, we manage people's investments as, well, so obviously the financial strength piece goes without saying. But in terms of how it worked for me and my transition, the humanity piece and the integrity piece really kind of, carried the day. It really was the rails on which my entire transition rode on. When the HR VP, one of them that I worked with, and I put it in the book she said to me, she said, Steph, we want to make this transition as comfortable as we can for you. And that's a direct quote, Shane. So that's the embodiment, that's the personification of those guiding principles, of those values. So for me, it begins there for any company of whatever size. What are your values? What do you want your workplace to look like? How do you want people to be interacting with one another? Because then the transitioning employee in this example, a new trans or non-binary employee, or LGBTQ plus employee for that matter, let's broaden it out. That should all fit in to this value set that you have, that you are, in some instances, creating your culture around. Building your culture around. This isn't rocket science. It's right. Not. And it can't, and sometimes, and it can't be procedural driven, and on some level. Procedural because you got the legal stuff. I get that. But at the end of the day, that's the whole culture piece. And the other piece is the communication piece. It's, how we communicate is the lifeblood of our organizations, right, Shane? I mean, come on. So it's about having a conversation. If I join the company as a new employee, and I just had this happen at a company I worked with. They had a new employee coming on board who said, I am trans. I want to begin my career at X company as my authentic self. Yay, is what I say to that, first of all. But they brought me in. And this is a large international company whose name I prefer not to use because I haven't asked for permission. But they brought me in so that I could talk to their team, that this person was going to be a part of, And the good news was they're all like, not a problem, not a problem, and it should never be a problem. It's like, Ryan Nassib coming out, the defensive end for the Las Vegas Raiders. I loved what he said in his video that he posted on his social media. It's like, I hope that there's a day that this isn't such a big deal anymore. Yeah. It's just who I am and who we are. And it was the same thing with this company. It's like, because let's not forget that we're all hired to do a job. I say that in the book. It's like after all this transition stuff, and I understandably, my situation was different only because I'd already been working at the company versus this example that I just gave of somebody coming in new. But, at the end of the day, after all the, the new car smell wears off, and everything, you got a job to do. You're hired. I was still a corporate vice president when this was all said and done. I
Mm,
still had a 35-person unit that I had to manage the daily operations of. I had, 4 direct reports and all that. I still had to do, on one side of the glass ceiling, what I had to do on the, beforehand on the other side of the glass ceiling. The juice of the book really is how the culture and how everyone else reacted to me after I came out. So there's that whole communication piece, just
mm,
about meeting people where they are. And then lastly, it's the continual, I call it continual education piece, because it's like we've already talked about.
mhm,
The need for education is great. It's never gone away. Education relative to the trans and non-binary community, whether it's our history, our issues, that sort of stuff. So that people can be better positioned to be allies,
mm,
moving forward. Because it's, I think trans people in and of themselves, because there's not that many of us, um, relative to the larger population, we can only move the culture so much.
mm,
It's having our allies standing in solidarity with us, our advocates standing in solidarity with us, that really moves the culture with much greater um, uh, veracity, I would say.
mhm.
It's that kind of thing.